We are continuing with our Mashiach series. So this is the third class in the series of Mashiach. This what's important about the first the two classes is I always recommend to go listen and catch up if you didn't hear. But these classes, the way that they're going to be presented, it's going to be done in a way that you don't need any previous knowledge that we spoke about beforehand, or at least 90% of it you don't need to go to the coming classes, because we're going to be giving these classes sporadically. So we're giving one now, we'll give one. We'll spread it out because there's a lot of classes in it and too much Mashiach in one time. I don't know, you guys will turn into a different type of sect of but in any case, so we will continue now. This is part 3. This is really the second part. This is a continuation of the end of days or end of times. What's going to happen at the end of times? We're going to be speaking about signs that you see that the end of days is coming. And how do we know that Mashiach is imminent and it's at our doorstep? So the Gemara, we'll start off with the first part is the Gemara in Sotah. Page 49b says, in the days of Mashiach, the truth will be hidden. So to explain this, the Rabbi Dessler explains it, and it says that people are going to be insincere. They're going to appear to be, outside serving God and, being religious. But inside, they're full of falsehood and, just like fakers. They're a bunch of fakers that they're pretending to be the real thing. And this is what our sages says that one of the reasons that the temple was destroyed, of the few reasons, is because you had people that were learning Torah, but they were learning Torah selfishly, just because they wanted to show themselves as they have the intellectual capabilities, they have the knowledge base of what it takes to learn Torah. So they learned it for the wrong reasons, just to show off their wisdom. And unfortunately, we have that nowadays also. I have one of my pet peeves is when I'm speaking. Let's say I'm saying a story. So there's one guy who's sitting in the back. It's always like sitting in the back, never someone back, who's like, so I start this story and then he oh yeah, I know this, and he says that punchline. And then I'm like, come on. I'm like, what do you gain from that? Absolutely nothing. So then it happened one time that he goes up and he's like, oh yeah, this happens if the king, kills the son or whatever, something, And I'm like, nope, different story, sorry. So I continue the story. Maybe about 30 seconds later, he's like, oh, the princess, there's the princess. I'm like, nope, still a different story. And he probably interrupted the story probably 5-6 times just to try to give the punchline. I'm like, dude, if you just zip it, you'll hear the story. Why are you trying to guess? There's not. What do you gain from that? And I didn't tell him the whole thing. I just told him to zip it. But I said, when you think about it, what do people gain? You have people when you're saying something and they're like, oh yeah, and they throw in the punchline, or say the joke and you throw in the punchline, make the other guy feel good, like you don't know it, and it's funny for the first time. It's like, aren't you good? I didn't say banana. Wow. It's the first time I ever heard that. Make the person feel happy that that you're doing something. Why you got to go and one up them and tell them, oh, I know this already. And the answer is because you want to show that you have the knowledge. You know this already. So it's this fakehood, and there are many people that when they're listening, for example, to a Devar Torah or a story, the main reason that they're listening to this is so that they could say it over to somebody else. Now, it's not the majority of people, but there are many people that it's no, which is good. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying still do it, but the inside, it's not the true reason why you should be doing it. The real reason, and I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, that you shouldn't be spreading Torah. By all means, you should. You should spread the Torah, and you should say it over. But the main thing that a person, that when he comes in is, I'll give you an example. I have somebody who comes to one of my classes that are really long, a few hours long, and always after every single class, he comes over to me, he's like, so you have a Devar Torah for me? I'm like, I just spoke for 3 hours, literally 3 hours, and nothing. And so you just want to, even a short one, 3 hours, you could pick something that's going to be out short. But one of the main things is that the reason why people want to learn, and I'm not saying they shouldn't learn, even if they have this reason. Even if their reason is for bad reasons, it says, mitoch shelo lishma ba lishma, which means is even if you do something for the wrong reason, keep on doing it. Do the good thing for the wrong reason, because eventually it's going to turn out good. But the sincerity, the real depth in it is you want to learn because it's going to get you closer to God. You want to learn for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. And again, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, keep on doing it. Don't stop. there is another thing that people, let's say, do chesed. When people do chesed, let's say they're going to give charity. They don't give charity unless there's a camera in there, and that everyone's taking a picture of them, or they get to cut a ribbon from a golden knife, or something that's big that it's going to be in the papers. That's when they'll do the chesed. When it shows out, if they could write their name in gold on this building, then I'll give you the whatever money that you need. But otherwise, it's not worth it for me. And that's even though still. Give the money, but it's the value of it, the sincerity of it, the real the reason for it is not the real. You don't have the good intent that you're supposed to be having. And this is why you have some people, let's say they're giving charity and they're giving more than one bill. They'll always put the largest bill on top, and they're like, so they'll be like, let's say a 50, and then it's a wad of bills, and the guy's like, wow, 50's on top, who knows what's in the bottom, and he takes the bill and it's like 50 and like 5 ones, like, oh man, come on. Usually what you should be doing is put the single on top and the 50 inside. So he thinks you're only giving $1, and then he walks away and he's like, what, this guy gave 50, something $5, and he goes around, he's going to come around, first of all, to ask you for more, and you're going to be gone, but which is good for you also, maybe, and there's for certain people, but at the same time, you're not giving it for the reason to be, so that everybody could see. So, and again, if you're doing that, keep on doing it, but that's where you're doing something that's not with the correct intent. And this is what it says in before the days of Mashiach, the truth will be hidden. We see this all the time. Everything, all this is happening. There's something also on this line, which is also one of my pet peeves, that you have organizations that let's say they loan money. So it's like it's called the gemach in Hebrew or whatever, the Yiddish maybe. But what they do is let's say that there's a group of people, each one contributes, let's say $1,000, and let's say there's 20 people, and it's like a free loan society. So if one of the members need to make a wedding, so they could take out this free loan from this thing, and then they pay it off slowly, and by the next time, the next person needs it will be able to have the money. So they went over once to a big rabbi who they wanted his blessing because they wanted to start this organization, and they called this like chesed organization, for which it is chesed. But when he heard all the details in it, and he's like, so he asked them, says, what happens if somebody who's not in your organization, which means is not in your immediate neighborhood, in a different neighborhood, comes in and he wants to borrow some money? And they answered, they said, well, we'll kindly say, listen, this is for our members only, and for the people in our community only, and we would love to help, but unfortunately we're restricted. So the rabbi says, what you're doing is nice, but don't call it chesed. That's not chesed. What you're doing is really just helping yourself. You're just putting money on the side, so eventually you could help yourself. That's not the real reason that we're doing chesed. You know what we do kindness? We do kindness because we care for the other person regardless of where that person comes from, whether he's coming from your community or not your community. There are certain organizations that they're organizations that they either they teach Torah, or they bring people closer to Torah, or who knows what else they do, but they only focus on their people. I'm like, that's not kiruv. That's not what God wants. God wants if there's a Jew over there that needs help and you have the ability, you turn that person away because he's not from your original country. That is absolutely the opposite of chesed. That's sinat chinam. That is, yeah.
I'm sorry, but don't we learn that when doing chesed, one should start within his family and then within his city and then go venture outwards, because you should do chesed
of course.
Who are closer to you, especially if you have limited resources.
Yeah, of course. But there's a difference about doing that and turning people away. There's a difference about, you should do it. But there are some places that, first of all, if you look at places, let's say Brooklyn, there's no, people that call themselves part of a community where they came from. Sorry to bust everybody's bubble here. You're not part of that community. You're a Jew. All right, you're not Gorsky, you're not Bukharian, you're not Ashkenaz, you're not Syrian. You're a Jew. All right, you don't come from this. This is a land that hosted you. Some might be graciously, it might be very nice, but there's nothing to them. You have no connection to them. You might have all come from the same, so you have same customs. They're very nice, but you're a Jew, and you'll be always a Jew, and you always was a Jew. Now, when you start thinking like that, you're not going to start, being kind only to your kind of people. It'll be like, people get nice and be happy, and they get this connection with of their same kind. We are all of our same kind, and the problem is that this is a big lack in the community that we have to really focus. And these organizations, these organizations, by the way, usually are not successful.
Are all of them like that? All gemachs only care about?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Very, very few. Most of them are actually really good. So, But you have these. This happened to be one particular case. So, but you have these, these organizations that they think they're doing the right thing. They think that they're doing it for God. But that's not. Is that really? You're doing an amazing thing. But what about let's say God is our Father, and He has one child that needs help and another child that needs help, and we'll be like, okay, we'll help you, but you got to find somewhere else. And what is a father thing like that? So be like, so I want to hug you and then I want to smack you at the same time. Like, why are you showing favoritism to one of my children when I have another child that also needs help? So this is like self-centered kindness, which is terrible. This is not a way. When you're doing something for God, do it fully, do it the right way, and the right way is doesn't matter who comes, doesn't matter who needs it, but if they're in a need, then you give it. So that's what the Gemara is one of the things, that the truth will be hidden. Everything is, there's so many layers going on, and people saying, they'll smile to somebody at a wedding and be like, oh, I wish she dies in a painful death, like the worst thing, and be like, what did you know what you do? It's like, oh, you don't know what you know. Like 14 years ago, we were in kindergarten, she didn't, the weirdest things, and they hold this grudge. But outside they're all smiling and bubbly, are amazing, right? The truth will be hidden. We see that time and time again over here. The Gemara also says, Gemara in Sotah 49b, it says that the governments will turn into heresy. There's the Chafetz Chaim, the Reb Chanan Wasserman says in the name of the Chafetz Chaim, he says, how could it be that, you look at the people that don't listen to God, or even preach against God, they're very successful. How is it that they're so successful nowadays? So he says that Rabbi Chanan Wasserman says that this is explicitly in the Torah. It says when there was a false prophet, and this speaks about it in Devarim, in Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 2 and 3 and 4. It says that if there's a false prophet that rises among you, and they'll prophesy, they can even prophesy that the sun is going to stop. And guess what? God will give them power, and the sun will stop. And they're giving some sort of false prophecy. The question is, why is God allowing this to happen? Why is God giving them the power? And the answer is to test you. It is all part of the test. And this is the test that we'll have also a similar test in the end of days, where there's going to be, we'll soon see it, where we're going to bring this out in a little bit to more in the atheistic ideas, but we'll get to that in a second, where you have these ideas, these strong tests of faith that's really, really going on strong there's so many Jewish people that they're going off because of these types of situations. I'll explain that in a little bit. But before we go to that, I want to speak about specifically the government. The government, it's the Israeli government. Let's speak about the Israeli government. So the Israeli government is run right now by, not really religious, so much religious people. And the interesting thing about them is that, they still consider themselves Jewish. So they'll date non-Jews. They'll eat non-kosher food. They would do like every sin possible, but yet they identify themselves as Jewish. Why? Why do you? Let me take it a step further. Reform, conservative. They basically took the entire Torah, made it null and void. So they listen to like 0 parts of the Torah, or if they do, listen to very minimal. But yet they call themselves Jew. Like, why do you still holding on to the title? It makes no sense. I'm like, just move on. You're not listening to anything anyway. Why you build a temple and pretend that you're praying to somebody who you don't believe in even exists?
But it's also
they do believe that they're...
Okay, so they believe
they believe in Hashem, and it's
some of them don't.
Right?
Some of them don't.
But in Israel,
Israel, they don't. Many of them are atheists. What do you mean, the government over there? You think they believe in God? I hope so. I don't know.
No,
doesn't sound like it. There's some of them are anti. They're anti it.
Yeah, but
so,
also to be called a Jew, you have to be having Jewish parents, or at least
100%. But it should be a Jew. Like, okay, so you identify as a Jew, but why they, like, for example, Reform and Conservative, they take it to a whole nother level. They're like, no, we're Jewish, and and they do like all these rituals that make absolutely no sense, that have nothing to do with Judaism, basically something that they made up, or is this something that they took off? And these people are actually more dangerous to the Jewish nation than the non-Jews. And I'll give you an example. So let's say you go to Israel. If you go to Israel, and the problem is that let's say people go to a club or a bar in Israel, everyone's Jewish over there. It's like, hey, yalla, itzik, let's dance, hey, it's a boomba, boomba. They go all these, they do the dancing together, and Itzik is dancing with Sarah, and and unfortunately also you have Itzik with Itzik. You have, there's many problems over there. But what happens is when you're going to these places and everyone's Jewish, they're like, well, if they could do it and they're Jewish and I could, then it's probably okay. It's not so bad. You sort of feel like you're part of if you're going to a place and everyone's Italian, right? Everyone's Tony and Christy and everyone's there, and then little Moshe comes along, but puts his yarmulke away and maybe puts it. So he feels like, okay, I'm at a place over here. This is not for me. But all of a sudden, if everybody's doing it, so put yourself in a more dangerous situation. So this is very, very dangerous in the level in the place that we are. And this is what it says: the government will turn into heresy. The government literally are a bunch of heretics. They don't go kofrim, and who knows what they believe and what they don't believe. So there is let me share you something with this. The Malbim on Yecheskel, he says that this type of behavior will bring divine wrath and punishment. How will it come? In form of thirsty Ishmaelim. Thirsty Ishmaelim means that they're thirsty for water. They are thirsty for blood. So it's really crazy how, you see what's happening in Israel. And you see, and again, I'm not here telling you that this is the reason why this is happening, but here's an idea. And here's a thought that tzaddikim before us said that what it is. Now I want to share with you two prophecies that was said. So there's a sefer called Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, which was written by Rabbi Eliezer ben Hulkanas. He lived in the time roughly, this is 45 in the Common Era to the year 117 in the Common Era. And he puts like 15 things that will happen with Ishmael, which we're not going to go on today, but I want to go on two specific ones. It says over here, first of all, it says that the Ishmaelim, they will turn cemeteries into garbage dumps and resting places for sheep in order to humiliate and offend the people. You guys know the news, right? Okay. So I don't think we have to explain that. But I want to even go even before what happened in America recently. You have, and I don't know if they're Ishmaelim or who they actually were, but when I was in Israel a year and a half ago, I went. So there's a cemetery right near the Kotel called Har Zitron, and so I went there. It's terrible. But the Arabs may use it as a shortcut. It's really like... it's a dump. But I'll tell you what the part that shocked me the most is I was going over there. You can't go there unless either you're crazy, Israeli, or you have security guards. One of those three things makes you allowed to go. So...
It's on the Arab side of your
Yeah, it's like right across. The Arabs are like, it's very dangerous. It's a Jewish cemetery. Jewish cemetery.
Cemetery on the Muslim side.
It's not the Muslim side, it's the Jewish side, but the Jews gave it to the Muslim. So, yeah. So...
You wouldn't cut that piece out at least? Why would you give a cemetery?
I don't know why. This is the borders, I think, already from a long time ago. So, anyways, so when I was in there, so I was actually there with my wife, and I was like saw from this, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I see this Arab kid, this little Ishmael. He's going over there, and he's jumping from tombstone to tombstone. Like it's a game for him.
Does he even know?
Of course he knows. He's like not a little kid. Like he's of course he knows. Yeah, he knew what he was doing. And they take a shortcut. They were literally they jump on these tombstones. So like the Jewish tombstones in Israel, they're very long and they're high. So they're like 6 feet long and they're high. So there's a nice plank part to stand. And they're wide also. So he was jumping from one to another. I actually went. In an embarrassing way, I took a picture of it, just as a proof to show that the prophecy is actually coming true. Yeah, I have it somewhere. Yeah. It got me so upset. I'm like, look, even if you hate the people, like let's say there's somebody, it doesn't matter what how bad you hate the person. You step on their grave. I'm like, have some decency, some respect for the people that passed away already. Regardless if you hate them, if you love them, it doesn't matter. Just where's the decency of respect to jump on them? Prophecy number 15. This again was written the year 45 to between 40. He was born between 45 and 117 Common Era. He said like this. This is a prophecy. The Ishmaelim, they will erect a Muslim house of worship on the site of the sanctuary of the Bet HaMikdash. This was written, when Islam started? The year about 610, when Muhammad, had his whole ordeal. 610. So you're talking about over 500 years before Islam even came to the picture. They said, the Arabs in the future, you'll see in the end of times, they'll build a temple, they'll build a house of worship on the place of the Holy Temple. And if you go, obviously everyone knows it. It's part of it's like people actually think it's like part of. They have the Yerushalayim picture in the living room, and they have like two mosques over there. Yeah. Right? You have Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is that gray dirty one, and then you have the gold one, which is a different mosque. So you see over here like prophecies that it would be impossible to know. Why would you think? Well, the Ishmaelim, what were they? We're sand worshippers. They worship, who knows, the sand, the stars. You can build a house of worship on the Jewish thing. This is way before that Islam even came into being.
Who said this in Rabbi?
This is Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, chapter 30. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hulkanas, he was a Tana in the time of the Mishnah. King Chizkiyahu, back in the time of King Chizkiyahu, there was a book that was called a Book of Remedies. That if you have any sickness, you literally would open up this book, find the sickness that you have, do whatever it says, it automatically 100% healing rate. Automatically, everybody got healed. So everybody would just go, every time they had any issue, they would go to the book, they would open it up, go to their issue, do it, and they would get completely healed. King Chizkiah went and he hid it. He hid the book. And the question is, why did he do that? Because it's dangerous to people's life. Because and the reason is because people were stopping to believe in anything else other than the book. They started, we don't need God. We have everything right here. So it was causing a backwards way of actually serving God. God gave you a present, but you're abusing it, and you're not even thanking Him. You're not even doing anything. So Chizkiah went and he hid the book. This is also what happened. We just finished Purim. In the story of Purim, Estelle, the Jews knew that they had a queen in the palace. I mean, like they weren't sure what side she was on, but like, come on, she's Jewish, she has a Jewish parents, she was sure going to help us out. But then all of a sudden, Estelle invites Haman and Achashverosh to a party. They're like, are you kidding me? She invited our arch enemy to a party. That means that we don't have a queen. She switched sides. And all of a sudden, what did they do when she did that? They started doing even more tshuva. They started even going closer to God. So when you start realizing that you have no one else to lean on and no one else to rely on other than God in heaven, and when you start relying on God in heaven, that's when the salvation starts coming. And that is one of the things that we have to realize that coming to the end of the days, and we'll see. We'll speak about it. That the Israeli government, all the army, we all rely on powerful army, great air force, great technology. When we rely on them, we don't rely on God. Very, very unlikely chance to have Mashiach coming. But once you start realizing, and there's going to come a time, unfortunately, according to the prophecies, is that there's not going to be an army. There's not going to be Israel is not going to be and we're going to have no one else to rely on, only on to God, and that's when the salvation will come. Okay, but let's move on. So the next thing the Gemara speaks about is chutzpah. In the time before Mashiach will come, chutzpah is going to increase. Chutzpah is like insolence. I think chutzpah made it into audacity. It made it into the dictionary. I don't think I have to translate that. I think Webster's dictionary has chutzpah already. So,
yeah, I think it's
So it says that during the time before Mashiach comes, chutzpah is going to get grow. And you don't have to know history. You don't have to know what our great grandparents did, but you could definitely see that chutzpah is going crazy nowadays. It's ridiculous what kids. This is also another thing that really bothers me. When a kid calls and he's like, hey, old man. Like, who are you calling old man? You guys are old man. Jewish people? He could call me old man. I couldn't care less. No, not Jewish people. I've never seen it. It's usually non-Jewish. It's like, hey, yeah, it could be. It's possible. I've never heard it. But come on. I'm like, this is the guy that raised you, even if he was a drunk. I don't care, but he brought you into this world. Hey, old man. That's like the most derogatory thing. Like, hey, almost dead man. You might pass me the remote? And be like, you're going to be an almost dead man, call me almost dead man. It's ridiculous how the level of, and you think about it, kids threaten their parents to, if you don't give me this toy, I'm going to call 911 and tell them that you hit me.
Right.
Are you kidding me? The threatening, they're giving them food on their table and a roof over their head, and they're threatening to get the new PS6, 4, 5, whatever we're up to. In Xbox 360, 780, whatever numbers. For stupid games, they're willing to put their parents in jail so that they could get certain things. The chutzpah is unbelievable. And if you think that's not enough, the most embarrassing part, I think, as a country, as American country, is the presidential debate. The presidential debate, I'm like, I saw only a clip of it, and I couldn't, because they're not debating, they're not like saying, I could do better. They're all like, she's terrible, and then it's like, he's terrible, and what you can do with the orange hair, and whose money are you stealing? And it's going back and forth. Are you going to wear that orange tie again? It's like back and forth, and all these things. That's not. What are you, second graders? No, you're fat. No, you're stupid. Are you serious? These are the people. Going to be the most powerful people in the world. Are debating like a bunch of second graders. They're debating like, you're the. I can't. For the mind of me, I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. And I'm like, this is what American people are voting on. And who could bash the other person more and put the other person down? The lashon hara that they could possibly say. It's just. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And this is going to be, ladies and gentlemen, the most powerful person in the world. He knows how to embarrass people in public. Excellent. You got to be kidding me. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. And this is also, it became like a thing. I think the terminology is called roasting, it's basically like you take somebody and you have them sit in the head so everybody can see them, and then let me embarrass you till you want to die. And then the more that I could possibly... Oh yeah, Baruch Hashem. Great. So make it more public.
Once in a while,
They roast a famous person. There's like 5 people, and they roast
for their birthday. Yeah.
It's a celebration also. Look at that. Even for charity. Let's do public lashon hara to everybody. You're talking about chutzpah. This is even more. I didn't even know they actually put this on public television. They literally make fun of people in public, and everyone's like sitting there clapping, like, that's hilarious. Yes. Yeah. Like, you urinated in your bed until you were 12? Like, who cares? Like, stop. I don't understand it. The chutzpah and this, I think I gave enough examples to realize that it is abundantly clear that chutzpah has reached an all-time high. An all-time high. And even in the, this is the non-Jewish world. Baruch Hashem, the Jewish world is better. But still, there's some stuff that we do need to work on. We do got to be careful on these things. Like, you have respect your elders still exists. To stand up. How many people actually stand up when their parents walk into the room? You're supposed to stand up when your parents walk into your room. Yeah, nobody stands up. When you're supposed to, there are certain things that people do, and obviously one of the topics we have to do is keep with aim over here. But you have to show respect to your elders. You have to not, old man, I'm going to put you in a nursing home if you don't give me this thing. It's ridiculous of how far we have. This is why the Gemara in Yevamot, page 79a, that says like this: there are 3 things to know if you're Jewish, that you come from a Jewish nation. You have to be merciful, bashful, and kind. So you have to show mercy, that we care about other people, and we do. You look even at Israel in the whole secular world. These national disasters, who's first on the scene? Almost always Israel. It could be the worst people. It could be like the terrorists blew up themselves, and so Israel sends in a tank to go help them out. It's ridiculous. Because that's who we are.
Do you think most Jews today are bashful?
I don't know bashful, but they're merciful. We're getting to bashful next. Bashful depends. And bashful is something that needs to be, I think the ones that are religious.
Bashful is like humble.
Yeah.
Right?
The ones that are religious, yeah. The ones that are not, they can't really explain it, But, and chesed, kindness, yeah. Definitely kind and merciful. That's for sure, even the secular, I think. Secular, and they definitely had that. Bashful, it's a good. You bring a good point. I would still say more than the general. And again, this is a general, assumption, but it's definitely more than the non-Jews. Okay, not saying that they don't have these qualities. I'm saying these are qualities that should be shining by a Jew. The Chavetz Chaim says even before that, the Gemara in Yuma, page 9b, says, the second temple was destroyed because of baseless hatred. Because of saying Lashon Hara. Because of embarrassing people, in public, that people do that now. This is the reason that the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. So now we have to work the other way around. We have to work the other way around and love every single Jew. We united every Jew. Who cares where you come from? Who cares what nation you're from? We love you all. It doesn't matter. And one of the ways to do that is to seriously try loving everybody. Just try loving every single Jew. Regardless of if they did something bad to you, did something good to you, you've never seen them before in your life, it doesn't matter. You have to instill that with that in you. If you love somebody, you'll never speak bad about them. The chutzpah, this also, arrogance, pride, also comes from chutzpah. And we spoke about this plenty of time. If someone is proud, he is. It's as if he served idols. And it speaks about Torah. It's literally it's abomination to God for someone who is pride. And nowadays, everybody has ego. Everybody has pride, and it's weird because they could have. It's like a scientific discovery. They have extremely high pride, and then at the same time extremely low self-esteem. It's like ta-da, magic. And which is not. There's obviously a reasonable explanation for it. But everybody has pride. Even you look at people that they're living on welfare, and they are and I've been to those places. Not Jewish places, and places that people should not be there. Anytime after 12 in the morning, because that's when everyone wakes up. But until the next, you have a few hours where it's safe to go in there, projects. So I thought that was clear. But okay. So anyways, I've been to those. You have people that literally they're sitting by the steps. They smoke weed all day, and they're But if you look at them the wrong way, the white boy, what you looking at? They all of a sudden they stand up. They got to pick up their pants first of all because it's falling, right? They brush off their new Nikes.
Not like it helps.
Yeah. And they start walking toward you. I'm just walking there. Not looking at you, trying to find the address. I'm like, I'm looking at you. So what? What you gonna do now? I mean, I love my life, so I wouldn't say that. But generally, like who are you? What is this your land? You don't even pay for this. The government pays for you to doing that. The government gives you extra money. You're taking that money and you're buying joints with it, and you're doing and that's being kind of the other stuff. Forget about the other stuff that they do.
Won't take care of it.
Well, yeah, that also. But I'm like, where's your ego coming from? I'm like, I understand. Maybe you made some money. Maybe you did something in your life. Even if you didn't make money, you're just a smart person. You study a lot. I'm like, you play video games and you smoke weed. I'm like, where's your pride coming from? Like, what? You could beat the newest level of whatever shooting games there? I don't know. I wish I could give examples. I'm sorry. Sniper or something. Call of Duty.
Because of history, they feel a sense of entitlement. Because
they were abused as a people. Yeah, 200 years ago. So we were slaves also. We'll get over it. All right. We were slaves in Egypt also for many years. All right. Okay. So, anyways, I love everybody the same. Everyone's awesome. All right. Yeah. Okay. So sometimes I just don't know, and I might just go, just a little bit overboard, just a little bit. I mean, I know I'm by the borderline almost every single class, so it's just like just getting that one step too much. All right. Anyways, so moving forward, here we go. So you have. We're going to speak a little bit about faith now. So it's much better to have simple faith and realize that, there is even believe in everything and be gullible than have no faith and be very questionable about everything, which means it's like, I don't know this and this. So it's better, because then at least you'll get some truth. If you have no faith, if you're so, I'm trying to get the word, and I don't know, it's better to be that simple-minded. Where was that? Oh, the simple-minded is naive is in a way sometimes it's good, because then you'll start believing in everything, so you'll believe part of the Torah, part of the good stuff. So,
like ignorance is bliss.
I guess so, yeah. So, but when it comes in the time of before Mashiach, so this is unbelievable. So this is where we're going to speak about a little bit about atheism. So you have the Or Chaim says that in the time before the Jews left Egypt, they reached the 49th level of impurity, of tumah, and it says that when it comes a time before Mashiach, they're going to reach the 50th level of tumah, and so the question is that when the reason why we had to get out of Egypt when we were in the 49th level is because if we would have stayed even a second more, we would have been unredeemable. We wouldn't be able to come out because we would have been too much impure. So how is it possible that we could go to the 50th level in the time before Mashiach and still get redeemed? And the Or Chaim explains this because we'll have the Torah. The Torah, before Egypt, we didn't have the Torah. Now we have the Torah. The Torah will be able to get us even out of the 50th level of Tumah. Explains Or Chaim, what is the 50th level of Tumah? And he says that it's like atheism and heresy and heretics. So I did a little bit of research on this, and I got a bunch of different numbers. What % of the world do you think is atheistic?
70.
Wow, that's high.
Actually, no.
15.
20.
Well, that's actually really good. 14%. When I did, I got 14%. 14%, so you're talking about like 980 million people don't believe in anything. And it's rising. It's not like, it's a dying thing. It's actually a very, very rising thing.
I've met a lot more people recently.
Yeah, they do. They usually don't know that they think that they're atheists, but then they're not. They just don't know anything. There is...
atheist.
it does.
How do you think this is all possible?
There's some people that just don't.
They're arrogant.
No, I think some people are just upset what happened to them when they were younger.
Oh, it could be. So that could be.
They don't want to believe that a God would actually do that to them.
It could be. That could be. That's very likely. There was in January 2016, a group of atheists put a federal lawsuit to drop the phrase "In God We Trust" on the dollar. Like that offended them. They're like, no, it's still there. They're like, I'm like, are you serious? Like, are you offended? Who cares if you're offended? Like, what does that mean? Like, people, their emotions today, they'll be like,
boycott money.
Yeah, exactly. Let them boycott money together with Israel. I'm like, what do you mean this is like, we don't believe in it, so why is it on our money? I'm like, come on. You gotta, and this is the same idea. You know what Obama and he wanted to do with the bathroom situation? The transgender. Let's get into a little bit more controversial, shall we? This is also something very. I'm like, you can't offend them because if he's a boy, but he considers himself a girl, so he could go to the girl bathroom, and this was like for people that were smart. I mean, something going on in the brain. The law degrees. They're like. And they're like, yes, that sounds very smart. I'm like, no, you can't change biology. You're a boy. I don't care if you think you're a dragon. You're a boy. What do you mean? Well, I think I'm a cat. so now, I don't pay
There's a person
taxes.
like that.
I could imagine.
He walks around purring and just.
Yeah, I mean, I could imagine. And these people do need to, and granted, they should get the help that they need. I'm not saying, I don't want to put them down, God forbid. They have their issues and they need to deal with it the way that they need to deal with it. But you can't just start saying that, okay, I'm a boy, so now, but I call myself a girl, so then I could go to the girls' bathroom. No, you cannot. You can't. I find that is a big problem. Like, if there's a girl who considers herself, I don't want a girl in a man's bathroom, and I'm sure girls don't want boys in their bathroom. And I'm like, this was okay for the president. It was, right? Am I wrong in the?
No, I think he did do something.
He did something. I don't know if he did or not. I'm not up with my politics.
Bullying workshop, because I'm in education, and they taught us that if a child goes to the bathroom of a different sex because they're transitioning, you're not allowed to say anything, because if you do, you're bullying.
Very good. So, listen, I'm not saying that you should be making fun of them, and they have serious conditions, and if they think like that, there's definitely issues that they need to deal with it. But you can't tell the person, it's like, I'll give you an example. You go to somebody and, say, well, how old are you? Well, I consider myself 50. I'm like, how old is you on your birth certificate? Like, what's your day? I'm 19, but I consider myself 50. Now, can I buy some alcohol? That should just like it should work. That if you're a boy that you want to be a girl, so too it should be the same thing. I justify myself as in a certain age. But no. We gotta care about everybody's emotion.
And you're gonna just jump off the building and hope you're gonna start flying.
So people who have gender issues or are gay, is there a reasoning for something that they did in their past life?
It could be. I mean, these are legitimate issues. I'm not downplaying, God forbid, any of these issues. Any of these issues, regardless of what the issue is. They think they're a boy, they think they're a girl, they think they're a cat. It doesn't matter. It's legitimate issues that they have to deal with. And B'ezrat Hashem should help them with their recovery. But there are reasons for it. Yeah. There are reasons. It could be a previous life. So, an example would be, let's say, and this is not particularly, but let's say somebody who is pro, to the gay side. It's very likely that, in a previous life he acted that way because out of his own, fruition, out of his own will. And now when he's coming back, he's going to be putting in the same situation, and he's going to be born like that. They could be born in that way. I believe in that. I believe that a person can be born opposite, thinking that they're, attracted to the same sex or whatever it is. It's very likely. And it could be very likely be that one of the reasons of their past life. Again, I'm not saying I know the reasons for everybody, but that is a possible reason why it can be. Atheism is unfortunately on a crazy high now. There was a guy that I know that his father passed away. His mother refused that he should say Kaddish for his father. And I'm like, even the 1% chance, why would you want your husband to suffer? Maybe she does want to, I don't know. But assuming that it's a happy marriage, why would you want to do that? Why would you? And this guy also associates himself as an atheist. He doesn't believe in anything. He doesn't believe. I had plenty of conversations with him, and only that he would realize that he doesn't know what he doesn't believe in, because he doesn't, very, very minimal knowledge. Bright guy, unfortunately, on a very stupid path. But you have these people that they're so strong on these atheistic ideas, and they're not changing. And then and it's ridiculous. It's literally what the Gemara says is going to be at the end of time. What Or HaChaim also explains. There is even more than that. Is that you have you have a lot of Jews. You have Baruch Hashem. You have people are coming in and people going out in the Jewish faith. Baruch Hashem, it's coming in mass. Like there's so many people doing Shuvah, but there's unfortunately a lot that are leaving. There are a lot that are leaving, and I want to say the Chafetz Chaim, I believe it was. He said the prime cause for the youth leaving is the weakening in faith. They're losing faith. These young people, or their parents are not teaching them enough of these, or whatever the situation is. In faith in the eternal afterlife, so in Olam Haba, and listen to this, in reward and punishment, that you think that everything that you do, you're either going to get reward or punished for it. And finally, with the coming of Mashiach, people don't believe. And you have one of the 13 principal faiths, you have to believe in the Mashiach. Okay. Oh, it's getting a little bit late. We have a few more minutes. Let me get to my show and tell. Okay. So this is we'll have to skip a few things, but there's people go and they take the serious things and they make it a joke. They don't keep Shabbat, they don't keep all these things, and they think it's okay. They think they're okay or whatever. I'm still a good person. If you don't keep Shabbat, you're in serious problems, like serious, like the worst problem that you could possibly think of, or one of the worst problems. You're in that situation, and people are like, no, it's fine. Well, my friends are not doing it. We're texting. It's fine. It's all nice and dandy. And even more, they have people that are decimating books and pamphlets and information. There's an organization. I'm not going to say its name. There's an organization that literally goes and tries to get people out of Judaism. It's started by Jews that went off. to help them. They give them free education. Yeah, people donating to these things. Jews are donating to these things. This I'll tell you, Jews are very kind. They'll donate to anything. It doesn't matter. Taking people, but it doesn't matter. We'll love to give, to donate. So, but you have these things, and they're making fun of the Gemara. They're making fun of all the big rabbis, and it's really pulling people away. So, okay. We'll skip a little bit of here. Now, we'll speak about one of the Gemara in Sotah says that in the time before Mashiach, it says that the generation in which Mashiach will come, there will be a meeting place for. Can I borrow this for a second? In the meeting place before Mashiach, there will be meeting places for harlotry. It means is that in the time before Mashiach, there's going to be a lot of immodesty. And we're going to finish off with it. This is going to be our last topic. We'll take a few more minutes and we'll finish off with this. The lack of modesty that's going to be before the Mashiach will be at an all-time high, and we're definitely seeing that. And it says also the Gemara. This is the Gemara in Sotah, by the way, 49b. It says that in the last test where the Bnei Israel had in the desert, they fell prey to the woman of Moab. It's a very interesting story that went over there. We don't have the time to go into that. But just as the last test was also in the woman, so too there will be the last test will be also with involving women and immodesty in the time before Mashiach comes. And this is not. It's not just like a normal immodesty. It's going to be actually like meeting places of immodesty, public meeting places. And like if you go to like synagogues, even you go to synagogues where people come to shul, and the woman, they're dressed like they're going clubbing afterwards. Not that they're going to a shul. I'm talking about the modern places. I'm like, like that. This is like meeting places. Literally, the Batei Midrash and the Batei Knesiyot. They're coming over there, but they're coming completely immodest. That and Rav Moshe Schwab explains this, and he says, that in the previous generations, these are one thing that we excelled in. We excelled in modesty. We were like, you look at the pictures of your grandparents. There was, you literally, you can't tell if they were religious or not by the way they dressed, because everyone was modest. Everyone was modest. So, listen to this. Listen to what Rashi and Ibn Ezra explain like this. They say, I'm going to actually read it because it's women who avoid attracting attention to themselves with eye-catching clothing and behaviors are considered to be clothed in garments more significant than the gold setting of the Kohen Gadol. That's the level that you can reach by just dressing modestly. Than the golden settings of the Kohen Gadol, what the Kohen Gadol wore. This is not only for women; also men obviously have to go and be careful of what they look at. But in the time before Mashiach comes, it's the test is going to be a very, very big test in modesty. Modesty is going to play at an all-time high. Listen to what the Chatam Sofer says. The Chatam Sofer says that the final exile, there's no day that every day is more troubles, more problems, more this and more issues here, more issues there, more than the prior exiles. And he says, you know why? Because in the prior exiles, everyone was modest. But in the final exile, there's going to be immodesty. And with immodesty, there's no graver sin than that in the Torah, that it constantly brings problems to the people. I just realized I need a few more minutes. Are you guys okay with that? If you guys need to go, then please feel free. But I just want to, while we're here, we have to get the, immodesty is not just in dress. It's in talk, in the way you walk, in the way you present yourself. Modesty is in everything. And one of the things that women should not do, and this is really for married women, they should not talk. A very, very immodest thing is to talk to your woman friend about your personal married life, things that happens inside what you do. And there was a story that and by the way, the Reishis Chachma says this. The Reishis Chachma says that you should never relate to your friend things between you and your husband. You and your husband should stay between you and your husband. Everything that goes in the bedroom should stay in the bedroom. And you don't know how many problems that I'm even embarrassed to say such a story. And I don't get embarrassed to say stories, easily. But this one, there was a woman who, and this also something that bothers me, that you have sometimes, these couple friends. You have husband and wife, and they have friends with a husband and wife. So you have a friend, that's awesome, that's great. But sometimes it gets really, really unhealthy. Like it's getting dangerously unhealthy. And literally there was this two couples that they were very close friends with each other, and they would do everything together. They would go together. The one wife will take the other husband shopping. Like I have good taste, come, we'll go together. They were literally like weird close.
Is this a true story?
It's a true story. I don't know how religious, but from the religious background, I don't know. Yeah, obviously from soon you'll see. I don't know what's there. So it's actually a long story. I'm going to make it short. But there was so one of the friends, one of the girls, they were talking, the two girls, and one of the girls were bragging about her husband's capabilities in the thing, and the other one started getting really jealous, and so this other one actually made advances to her best friend's husband, and she's like, no, I spoke to her about it. She said, and she said, you said, well, this is what you did, and she said, I'm her best friend. She really talked it up. I can't. I'm telling you, I feel disgusting even saying this, but this is and she said, this is what she did, and she basically gives the whole thing. So the guy says, okay, my wife wants to go speak to a guy. They'll tell and they go and they do the one of the worst sins possible in the Torah, and some time goes by, husband, and she goes afterwards like a smart, like, by the way, keep this between us. Obviously, it's just for a one time, all the Narishkan Mishkas. Yeah, it was adultery. Yeah, of course, 100% adultery. And so a while later, the wife again is bragging about her husband's abilities, and the other friend smiles and she's like, yeah, you're right. And the other friend was like, what? What do you mean I'm right? Like, and it like sort of slipped out, like, yeah, I know. And then it came out that this is what happened. That it basically came out what happened. The story doesn't end over there. I wish it did. And so basically, to get back at her friend, she went to the other husband, right? And that's and if I'm not mistaken, I think there was a kid involved in one of those situations. It went so bad. And I'm like, when people start saying, when the rabbis are screaming at you and telling you Facebook is bad, Instagram is bad, to having close friends when you're married is very bad, people are like, no, we're different. These people, I'm sure, thought they were different also. And look where it ended up. 2 broken marriages, 1 questionable kid, and who knows else what other future problems are gonna bring. And where does this all start with? Immodesty. They could have dressed completely modest, but their actions weren't modest. Their speech wasn't modest. They had very, very immodest things going on, and it broke their entire home. And you look in the world today. It's not a class about divorce, but about the craziness that goes on in divorce and the cheating and all this terrible things that are going on nowadays. And it's literally, we're living in such a generation of immodesty. This is all boils down to immodesty that was unprecedented before. I don't think ever in history was this much cheating going on and this much, disgusting immodesty going on. Well, for sure the immodesty part, but even the hidden things was never this bad. And the Gemara says before Mashiach comes, this is going to be a very, very big test. And I even asked this regarding the dress. I asked this a bunch of guys. I asked this multiple times. I gave the guys two choices. I said, number one, you could have a very, very pretty wife, but she's going to be immodest, or you could have a less prettier wife, but she's going to be modest, but still pretty, but not on that level. So guys are easy to understand the numbers. So I said, let's say you have like a 9 or an 8 as a pretty one, and then you'll have like a 6.5, for the modest one. 99% of them, do you know what they chose?
Modest.
Nope.
Really?
Yep, they chose the modest ones. And I'm speaking to people, by the way, that are not religious. I'm speaking to people that are not religious. They're speaking to not women go and they dress in a certain way because they think this is what guys want. This is what guys want. They'll get attention, they get that. If you really realize what they want, the guys are not, granted, usually they see that, they think easy prey. But if I've asked a guy, there's like 1 or 2 in every class, they'll be like, whatever, I'll take the immodest one. There are the ones, by the way, that they're not ready to get married. They're not ready to get married. And I've threw in a few more details, but the majority of the people, they're walking down the street, they don't want everybody looking at their woman. They want guys are very possessive. And a woman who dressed like that thinks that she's this is what the guys want, this is what that. People don't realize that nobody wants it. Nobody's looking for it. You're doing that way. You think you'll get certain guys. They're not the guys that you want. Not the guys that's going to want to put a ring on it. I'll tell you that much. So the modesty really goes to a whole nother level this day.
Wait, Rabbi, what about people who are picky with looks? Like, that's not...
Yeah, they're usually single for a long time. I'm serious. They're not. Rav Shmuel Halevi Wozner, he said like this. He said people think that, guarding your eyes is just for men. Men have to guard their eyes. He says women have to guard their eyes just as much as men. Women have the ability, people think, okay, I'm a woman, I could read dirty books, I could do, I could watch certain things, I don't have the temptations that a man. Says, Rav Wozner, no. Says a woman has the same, just like a man has, he has to guard his eyes at every given moment in time, so too a woman has to guard her eyes. She can't go looking at things that she's not supposed to be looking at. People really don't know this halakha. People, think it's only for men. It's not. That the fact that Torah says you should not stray after things. It also goes for a woman. A woman is also not allowed to look at these things. A woman is also not allowed to so you have these people that watch movies and there's an immodest scene. So the woman thinks she's at snuat, so she covers her husband's eyes. She said, "Don't look. I'll tell you when you can look." Like, who says you can look? Who says you can look? So. So that's a problem also in modesty, and what women also don't realize is that when they're immodest, when they're dressed immodestly, and there's a guy that sins because of them, they get the same sin that the guy gets because they were an assist. She did a very nice assist to help this guy, and now the punishment, every pleasure that he goes and he extracts from that from that looking, she is responsible for that also. It's like
without even knowing that what the guy.
Without even knowing. If she would know, she'd probably throw up.
What if you're modest but you just dress pretty? Like, people still.
If you're modest, put it this way: if you're modest, there's nothing wrong with dressing. And by the way, this is not a hard halakha. People think that this is very difficult. There's nothing wrong with dressing nice. There's nothing wrong with dressing good. As long as it meets all the halachic requirements, then you are fine. Even if somebody else looks at you and does a sin because of you, you're not held responsible for that. As long as you did what you're supposed to do. If you didn't do what you're supposed to do, then then you're and it's like it's like I didn't even get pleasure from that, and I'm getting punished for that. Like, it's not worth it. It's a lose-lose situation. You don't gain from it. And the Chazon Ish says, they once asked him, they said, a man, his main thing, his merit is learning Torah. What is a woman's main merit? And he said, tzniut. One word, modesty. If she's tzniut, modesty does for a woman what learning Torah does for a man. It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
So who said this?
The Chazon Ish. Aral Prague also says that the main praise for a woman, the main thing is determined by her level of tzniut. The more tzanua that woman is, the higher that she is considered, which is ridiculous. You could gain so much. Consider you kept the entire Torah by the fact of just being modest. It's
so hard.
Yeah, it is. It's very difficult. I know it's difficult. I mean, I don't know it's difficult, but I hear that it's very difficult. So, and I understand that it's very difficult. But at the same time, the more difficult something is, the greater the reward is. You figure it comes in the same level. And the Gemara also says, a husband loves his wife when she's modest. A husband will love his wife more when she's modest. And the Gemara in Bava Metzia 87a explains. Okay, we got to finish up. Explains that. When the angels came over to Abraham, they said, "Where's your wife?" As if they didn't know where his wife was. He's like, "No, she's in the tent." They knew that she was in the tent. He knew that she was in the tent, but they wanted to make Abraham love his wife more because he'll be like, "Oh no, she's modest. She's inside." That's why a woman who is modest makes her husband love her more. Granted, there's some weird guys that they want their wife to dress like she's working the corner. They're like, no, and they're a little bit twisted, their mentality and their thoughts. But a normal, regular husband will be more attracted and happier and will be more in love with a woman that's modest than a woman that's showing it off to everybody in the street and nothing to do with him.
Like Ahasuerus, who wanted his wife to come out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and see, look what happened to her. So the lesson for all the women that want to go to so people think that it's very hard and it's very difficult, and I know it's very difficult. So I was driving about a few weeks ago back. Was me, my wife, and someone who's very close with my wife, a woman, and she has a very, very hard struggle with modesty. So we start speaking about modesty. Get a nice shul in the car, and we start speaking about modesty, and then and she kept on saying she's like, I want to be more modest, and almost every single girl wants to be more modest. There's like a want for it. If it's not a want, it's like a want to want. It's like there. It's like it might be at 14,000 miles away, but it's like it's a goal. Maybe if I'm 85, I'll reach. It's like at least something in the future. But so she's like, listen, I want to do it. So I'm like, so do it. What's up? It's like, no, it's hard. It's easy. This, like, but I would love to do it. I would love to be modest. And this is her words. I feel prettier when I'm modest. And I'm like, so let's do it. And so she's like, yeah, but this and that. I said, you know what? You're right now willing to be more modest. We're gonna go right now. I was dropping her off anyways. My wife is very close with her. My wife will go out with you. Put all your immodest clothes in a bag, and I'll just hold them. It will be in our house. If you ever want them back, it's yours. I'm not going to throw them out. I'm not going to burn them. I'm not going to do anything. Just give them to me, and I'll put it in the house. And it says this way, it's going to make you more modest. And I'll tell you. And I said, I know what. I'll arrange for you that you'll be able to buy a lot more, modest clothing. And I was able to work it out for her. So she's like, you know what? Fine. We got all pumped up, and I'm like, fine. All right. if you know anybody who's in business, the way that you're supposed to go in business is the ABCs in business is always be closing. ABC, always be closing. If you have a client that's ready to sign, you don't wait till tomorrow, we'll go for coffee and we'll sign. No, your client's ready to sign. I don't care if it's 11:30 at night. You're signing 11:30 at night because that's when you're going to close. Don't wait till the next day. So see over here, her heart is warming up. Her heart wants to do the right thing. We're closing tonight. It was literally 11:30. We're coming back from a wedding, and or a shevach or something. So I'm like, you know what? We'll go right now. So it's like, no, we'll do tomorrow. I'm like, no, it's okay, it's okay. It's like, no, it's late. We have a babysitter. You're like, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll come now and we'll do it. So she goes and she goes and she takes. I have maybe 30 pieces plus of clothing. This is what I schlepped all the way over here. I even the camera to see this entire. By the way, it's a garbage bag full for everybody who's listening. A garbage bag full of immodest clothing that I'm holding in my hand right now from a woman who decided that she's going to dress more modest, not because her parents forced her. Her parents couldn't care less. She could do whatever she wants. Doesn't matter. Her parents don't care less. Only because she wanted to do. And if you say it's very difficult, I know it's difficult. But here's proof of somebody who was able to do it. Somebody who was going through a lot. She was able to do it. If she was, and by the way. This is immodest clothing. You can fit a lot because it's not a lot of material. So it's a lot of, even though it's a full garbage bag, but it's a lot of. It's like almost 30. I don't know what the terminology is. Outfits. Over here. There's a lot of stuff. This was very heavy to walk over here. I wanted to bring it here to show you, inspire you about what this is, and also that we're going to be selling. No, I was kidding. I'm joking. No. I'm still keeping it. I'm still keeping it in my house. If she wants it back, it's hers. This is what I recommend. Modesty is very hard. I know it's very hard. Use that method. Find a friend and be like, listen, this is all my immodest clothing. Hold it for me. Don't do anything. Put it in a thing. And you can do that. And all of a sudden, it's not in your closet anymore. You're not going to have that temptation to actually go and do it. And it's an unbelievable idea that you could actually go. And it's like people have a very hard time throwing everything away. If you're able to, don't donate it. Burn it. By the way, after 120, God, because why it's immodest? Why nobody else is? If a non-Jew
have no clothing or
Wait, do not have to be modest?
They do have to be modest.
It's better to have this than being naked for like those. I don't know. People.
Well, I guess so. But after 120, what they're going to do they're going to come and they're going to bring all the mitzvot on one scale, all the avot on one scale. They're going to take this, and this is heavy, by the way. This is very heavy. And they're going to put it on the side of mitzvot. It's going to sink all the way down. It's going to make one of those sounds because the scale is just going to break because that's how much it's worth. The tzniut is worth so much, it's literally going to break the scale regardless of what sins and avot. The tzniut is so important. She's going to be able to accomplish so much by just doing what she just did. You don't know how much, and I asked her like a while back, after that, I'm like, are you regretting it yet? Where are you right now? Do we have to, we're going to have to, and she was like, no, I'm fine. I'm good. Obviously there's the tests and the temptation that comes back, but she was able to do it. And this is a woman that had no pressure from parents. She could have done whatever she wanted to. She was brought up, dressing, whatever she wanted to do. And yet she went and she did this. That means that everybody here has the same ability that she did. You should take it as an inspiration, as a thing to do. Don't wait till tomorrow. If you're listening to this online, don't wait till you'll wake up. Do it tonight. Do it tonight. This is going to bring the Mashiach. This is going to bring the redemption. The redemption is going to come. Just like the first redemption was in merit of the woman. The holy righteous woman was the merit of the redemption of Egypt. So too the last redemption is going to be in merit of the woman. The merit of the woman is going to bring it. Come on, guys, we're waiting. Let's go. Throw out all those immodest clothing. You had some questions?
No, I was going to say, if she doesn't accept it, she may also be embarrassed to come and ask for it, so that's going to keep her.
Yeah, my wife is very close with her, very close. So she'll.
Still, it's like kind of.
Yeah, so it pushes it right. So so give it to a friend. Even if it works for a week. Sometimes how people go to rehab. How do they judge a good rehab place? By the time between your relapse. So you came out of, you're a cocaine addict, but you came out not for 6 months. I'm like, that's pretty good. So let's say a girl is able to do it for 6 months. I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. Then if you fall, so then you get right back on it and you see how long you last the next time. It's something that you should definitely not throw it out. Keep it, keep the, don't throw out the idea. Throw out the clothing by all means. You don't need the clothing. But it's an idea that you could easily be modest without giving it up completely. And eventually you'll get used to it and you'll love it. You'll see so much blessing in your life as well.
Yeah.
We should probably say what modesty is. That's probably a good idea. Let's do a quick thing. So modesty, first of all, very quickly, it's you have to have certain parts of your body covered. So your collarbones over here, so it can't be open up, very open in the top.
Like bones right here.
Yeah. So it should be.
Even if it's like slightly open, it's technically.
It should be as close as possible. There's the you know, I mean, not like you're choking, but like I'm saying, like, you know, then you have also the elbows. So this is, you know, very, you know, thing. So the elbows should be covered with the clothing, and the knees should be covered. The knees should be covered when you're sitting down. So sometimes people, you know, are going and, you know, they're constantly doing this, you know, trying to stretch fabric. That the leather doesn't stretch, woman. You know, relax. You know, and it's like, you know, they keep on trying to, you know. So it's you know, that it should be covered when you're sitting down, and it should not be like flashy, like neon pink. You know, that's even if you're just, you know, like if it covers all the places, but if it's flashy thing, that's also immodest. And obviously tight clothing. I think that's pretty much, you know, it. That, you know, and you can find such nowadays. Fashion is becoming a little, you know, like the weird fashion, are becoming more modest, right? They're doing like kosher style stuff. The halacha is like this. The halacha is that obviously the more modest you are, the better off you are. Obviously, the more that you are, the more blessing that will come to you. And by the way, it says that a lot of poverty, which is money problems, and other problems come because of immodesty, come because of modesty. So it's a really, well, not married, doesn't matter. If you're married, then yeah, obviously to the whole household. But even single, it brings problems. It brings problems, and you don't gain much from it. I know. Idea is it's extremely important in the Torah. It's extremely important, and it has to be taken into that level of importance. And literally, it's a time right before Mashiach comes. This is going to be the test. The test is that we have to work on it, and we have to, you know, you guys have to. Well, we also have to. The men also have to. We also have to be careful how we look. We're not allowed to look at certain things. We have to be modest in our sense as well.
Is there anything in the Torah that says you have to cover your hair if
Yes.
you're a married woman?
Yes, biblically.
Biblically meaning?
From the Torah, like yeah.
So
One of the most important things for a woman is to cover her hair. That's one of the most modest things, and it actually says a lot. The Mishnah Berurah brings it down. I wish if they have a Mishnah Berurah here, I would actually show it to you inside. I'm sure they do. They would have to. But it says in the Mishnah Berurah, it brings down like, and the Chavetz Chaim doesn't speak a lot about Kabbalistic things, and he speaks about. He said you want to have righteous children, holy children, good children. Cover the woman. The more that she covers her hair, the more modest is, the more righteous the children will be.
Every woman that covers her hair has righteous children.
Not necessarily, but more righteous than they would have been otherwise. All the hair. The hair is something it's considered elva. It's hair should be something only for your husband. Hair makes a woman very beautiful, and that should be reserved only for your husband.
I don't know,
But
I heard
isn't
those
there a
shades, those are
deeper
super-
spiritual understanding?
What?
Because, like, there's no prohibition for a married woman to look beautiful. It's just she has to be modest. There's a difference.
Yeah.
So, like, there's always this question about when it comes up with the issue with wigs. So, from what I've learned, there's no issue. Let's say people say, "Oh, wigs should be asur because it makes them prettier than they were before." But I thought the hair is erva not because it's pretty.
There are many big poskim that are very against wigs. You know when they do it in the sotah? When a woman committed adultery, they would uncover her hair. That would be an embarrassment for her. Now everybody's like uncovering their hair, like because that they love to. Yeah, yeah. So it's a serious thing. Covering hair, I didn't even touch upon that today because there's so much to talk about that. But covering the hair is one of the most important. Yeah, it's like the top thing over there with modesty. It's a top thing, and it brings so much blessing into the house.
But it's such a
So much.
today.
It is very hard.
Community. I mean, it's like,
Yeah, it's very difficult. If somebody's brought up in a way that it's very hard. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying any of these stuff is easy. But this stuff still exists. And just like it's hard, it comes with tremendous amount of bracha, tremendous amount of things that should become with it. And then the flip side also, when you don't do it, it comes with tremendous problems. So there's a reason these things are extremely important. Difficult, I know it's very difficult. Somebody who has never done it, it's very hard. It's very hard.
Question.